Hello and welcome everybody. We are back, the Fake Sports League. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. We are past the mid-season point and the playoffs are on the horizon. As always, you can use the YouTube chapter feature to jump right to your favorite team's games. Or of course, you could always sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Make sure you turn into the FSL Discord. I know we've been talking all weekend about these rivalry matchups in Game 5. Make sure you get all of your injury reports, player news, live betting, and it's just all around a great time. All right, now I am itching to get back into these matchups. We start things off at Tide Stadium. Tide hosting the Dragons here. A bit of a change up in the lineup. Lamar Brown has earned that one spot for the Tide. A complete rookie takeover for this Tide roster. On the Dragon side, Dwayne Wells taking out one spot over Tobias Fonseca. He has been fantastic this season, but these are two strong defensive cores going up against each other today. 45 on the clock, and we start things out with a chess match. Corey Jolly the first to get on the board for the Dragons, but Lamar Brown ties it up 1-1. Courtney Fowler gets it right back to him. Brett Romero now 2-1, 2-2. The Dragons on the board with Francesco Sage. It's all tied up, and as we were saying before, it's going to be a defensive battle through this one. 3-2 now. Tide scoring on every position, and it's Lamar Brown with his second. And the Tide start to take a lead here. 5-3, the Dragons got to play from behind on the road. 10 seconds remaining. Lamar Brown with 3 points for the Tide today. Finally some action, but there's only 5 seconds remaining, and that will do it. Lamar Brown keeps them at an arm's reach. 6-4, the Tide with the win at home. 4 points for Lamar Brown. The coaching staff trusts him in that one spot, and he has delivered. But the story of the day is going to be Audrey Becker and Courtney Fowler combining for 5 turnovers. Dwayne Wells and Tobias Fonseca held to 0. Really efficient on offense, but this defense stepped up in a big way for the Tide today. Now it's the Mystics and the Frogs. Both these teams 2-3 on the season. A bit of a rocky start, but the Mystics at home hoping to get something going for their season. Fabian Hills makes it into the lineup for the Frogs today. Fabian, who just last season was out with a spinal injury. Glad to see that he's taken some rest and is able to get back in the lineup, this time for the Frogs. 45 on the clock, and we start things off quickly. Percy Willis on the board for the Mystics. 1-1. Fabian Hills with the score for the Frogs. Drew Park gets the lead for the Frogs, and Ronnie Lamb takes it right back and gets it out to Drew Park. It's 1-3 now, 2-3. Percy Willis keeping the score close. Burl Packer gets it back to him. Carlos Gutierrez ties it up. There's under 30 to play. It's 3-4 now. Drew Park and Fabian Hills combining for 4. 4-4 now. Mystics keep the game close. Chris Pike gets the turnover and passes it out. It's 5 under 10 seconds to go, and this is anyone's game. Frogs tie it up. 5-5, 6-5 now. Can the Frogs get it back? No, the Mystics take it. 3 points for Percy Willis, 3 points for Carlos Gutierrez, and a 2-turnover day for Burl Packer. 3 points for Fabian Hills, the top scorer for the Frogs, but it just won't be enough today on the road. And it very well might have been the home field advantage that kept the Mystics in this one. 3-3, and the Mystics' playoff hopes continue. Join me now at the Inferno, where the Flame host Los Lobos. Xavier King got the start when Gary Black went down, and he has earned his spot today at the number 2 spot for the Flame. Jorge Silva moving up to number 1 on defense. But will this strong defensive unit from the Flame be able to handle Rolando Johnson and Adrian Mitchell from Los Lobos? A high-powered offense going up against a strong defense today. 45 on the clock. You already know. We start things off defensively now. Sean Jacobs and Jorge Silva, a turnover apiece, and Rogelio Gil gets the first point on the board for the day. Adrian Mitchell now to tie it back up. It's 1-1, but another defensive battle. Jorge Silva and Sean Jacobs exchanging turnovers. It will be Adrian Mitchell again to give Los Lobos the lead. Rogelio Gil ties it up, and these two are in lockstep. Flame and Lobos scoring back and forth. Adrian Mitchell with his third of the day, and Xavier King gets on the board for the Flame. 3-3, 3 points for Adrian Mitchell, 2 for Rogelio Gil. We are under 10 now, and it's a defensive battle. A 1-point lead for the Flame and 5 seconds to go, and there it is, 5-3, the largest lead, and that will finish the game. 3 points for Rogelio Gil, 1 for Xavier King, 1 for Alan Norman, but it will be 5 turnovers from Jorge Silva to seal the fate for Los Lobos. Rogelio Gil getting it done on offense, but it will be Jorge Silva to shut down this high-powered offense and take away 5 potential points that Rolando Johnson could have scored. And watch out for the Flame because they are gunning for the postseason. It's time now for the Red Pandas hosting the Rebels in today's matchup. Rebels 1-4 on the season, but hoping to turn things around on the road. Courtney May to take that 1 spot for the Rebels today. Hopefully this will take a little pressure off Philip Bayless to perform early in his career. But it will always be a tough battle when Joey Spencer and Clayton Harrington are on the other side of the ball. 45 on the clock, and we kick things off with an Alfred Blair turnover, passes it out to Philip Bayless, who scores. Forrest McLean gets it right back to him and also gets it to Philip Bayless. It's 0-2 early here. The Rebels with the lead, and Philip Bayless, his 3rd score of the day. The Rebels up 3 naked, 4 points. Philip Bayless having himself a night. The Red Pandas have yet to respond, and now it's 1-5. Red Pandas barely hanging on, and this one is just out of hand. 1-6, 2-6. I mean, 15 seconds, but the Rebels with 7 points here. This has just gotten out of hand early, and Philip Bayless accounting for 4 of those points. 3-8. The Rebels just absolutely stunning the Red Pandas at home. 9 points for the Rebels. What an offensive performance from this 1-4 team. 4 points for Courtney May, 4 points for Philip Bayless. Max Peterson in on the action as well. The Red Pandas could not force any turnovers today, and just the most complete performance by the Rebels so far. 4-9 is your final score today, and both these teams will progress to 2-4 on the season. And we take things now to the graveyard, where we have 2 polar opposite franchises here. The Phantoms, historically one of the best franchises in the FSL, at a 1-4 start up against one of the historically worst franchises in the FSL, the Comets, starting things out 4-1 on the season. And a lot of that due to MVP candidate Max Adams. He is having himself a season. The Phantoms are going to have their hands full with this talented rookie today. As always, 45 on the clock, starting now. And Octavio Bren, quick to score. Manuel Cook keeps it close, 1-1. 2-1 now. The Phantoms take an early lead at home. Mike Mickle to get that score for the Phantoms. Each team feeling out their opponent early here, hesitant to get anything going. Sammy Swanson now finally for the Comets. 3-2 now. The Phantoms keeping it at bay, but the Comets tied up. You wonder if there's an intimidation factor from the Phantoms here. 4 points for the Phantoms and 0 points for Max Adams today. 5 points for the Phantoms, a 2-point lead. The Comets might get their 2nd loss of the season here. There's under 10 seconds remaining. 6-4, 6-5 now. The Clan Phantoms, the Comets doing everything they can to stay in this one. 6-6. We go to overtime. Max Adams has not scored all day, but has just enough to put the Comets into overtime and to keep this game alive. It will take another 20 seconds to decide this one. And Sammy Swanson quick to strike in overtime for the Comets. 6-7, 6-8 now. The Phantoms going to have to climb back into it. 7 points, 7-9, under 10 seconds to go. The Phantoms, 6 points from Octavio Brin. 8-10. This might be just out of reach for the Phantoms, and it will. 8-10, the Comets on the road. 6 points for Sammy Swanson, 6 points for Octavio Brin. A scare on the road for the 4-1 Comets. And I don't care what the record is, the Phantoms are always going to be tough to play at home. You got to think just from a historical context, just how difficult it must be for this Comets team mentally to get over that hurdle of this is the Phantoms and not getting intimidated despite what the record may show. An overtime victory puts the Comets at 5-1. All right, join us now at Knights Castle. It is the game of the week. Sharks went 4-0 to start the season, but dropped one against the Tide. Knights sitting at 3-2, hoping to get into a more comfortable spot in this playoff race. We've got the Defensive Player of the Year, the Offensive Player of the Year, and the MVP playing in this game today. The matchup to watch is going to be to see if the Defensive Player of the Year, Benny Brock, can contain MVP Marcus Evans. I am excited to get into this one. 45 on the clock, starting now. And it will be a little quiet here. Not much action on either side of things. Quinn McHugh now finally on the board for the Knights, but Daryl Bates strikes back just as fast. Quinn McHugh again, 2-1. Knights up early at home. against this very talented Sharks team. Daryl Bates now ties it up. A very slow-paced game here to start. Very methodical drives, 3 of 3. Floyd Fuller and Al Key exchange blows, 4-3 now. Knights with a slight lead, under 15 to go. Finally, some defensive action as Bradford Love and Benny Bronk gets the upper hand on Marcus Evans, under 10 to go. And the Knights with the largest lead now, a 2-point lead for the Knights. Sharks bring it back within 1. Broderick McCaskill with the turnover, but it won't be enough. Knights finish at home, 6-5. A team win for the Knights, 3 points for Quinn McHugh, 2 points for Floyd Fuller, and a critical turnover from Benny Bronk. These two starting to separate themselves from the rest of the FSL, both going to be 4-2 going into next game. The Sharks dropped 2 in a row. Let's take a look at your standings here. Finally now we get a little bit of clarity in the ISC as the Tide and Flames separate themselves atop the conference. Mystics and Dragons into that second tier, and Los Lobos and Frogs holding up the back end. Again, it's the top 2 of each conference and then the next 2 at large. So the Mystics and Dragons both very much still in this one. Over at the FSC, we've got a new number 1 team in the FSL, and it's the Comets. Who saw this one coming? Comets, 5-1, the number 1 team in the FSC. Knights and Sharks holding up that secondary position, both and good playoff standing. And the Phantoms won their first game but lost the next 5 in a row. Technically speaking, no one is yet eliminated from the playoffs, but it is going to be as much of an uphill battle as it could possibly be for the Phantoms. Phantoms in dire situation already at this point in the season. Well, everyone, that was Game 6 for you of our 10-game schedule. Make sure you tune into the Discord for all player injury updates and news. That's it for me in the booth. We'll see you right back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Game 7. We thank you all for watching this official broadcast of the FSL.